so many people have started to talk about what he isn't. Newsflash, the only two things that Giannis doesn't do well in basketball are shoot threes, which he is a 7-footer, and a lot of dominant 7-footers don't make a high percentage of their threes, and make free throws, which a lot of 7-footers also don't make their free throws. But you know what else he is? More agile than almost any 7-footer to ever play the game. Like watching him go coast to coast, and it's funny y'all had the trivia question about Jerry West, because it's like the agility of a modern day like a Kareem. I remember watching Kareem in Game of Death against Bruce Lee, and I felt like it was incredible that a 7-foot man could be so nimble and agile. He doesn't necessarily have the power of Wilt, but this is what he would look like. And gliding, Greeny, you see him taking those long steps. That's like Dr. J-esque sometimes. So the numbers that he's putting up is sure dominance. He's carrying the Milwaukee Bucks. He came back in game 1 off a hyperextended knee. I was in the arena. I was staring at him the whole time. He was limping a little bit. He was wincing. I didn't believe that he was 100% sure that he was going to even play. And so for him to be as dominant that he has been, it's incredible to watch. I don't believe that they're going to win this series because they got down 2-0. If everybody stays healthy, I think Phoenix responds. But Giannis has continued to improve individually. He lifted the Bucks to the NBA Finals, and he's going to bring a championship to Milwaukee. It may not happen this year, and he may not get 5 like Shaq, but he probably is going to get at least the kind of ring that Dirk got that meant everything to the Dallas Mavs. So I'm impressed with Giannis. I'm impressed with the Bucks, and this is going to be a long series.
But how about that thought that Cassidy brought up, which I liked? To get that ring you're talking about, does he have to be more Shaq than Kobe?
Well, I played against Shaq and Kobe in the finals one time, and you give it to Shaq in theory the first 46 minutes, and you give it to Kobe the last 2 minutes because he's a perimeter player. The 7-footer needs assistance from his perimeter guys unless it's the Joker, one-of-a-kind type of triple-double big. You're not going to give it to your 7-foot guy unless it's Giannis with 8 seconds to go on the clock to try to make a play. And he was dropping dimes. They learned to start cutting, Cassidy. It was the first, they stole it from Phoenix. Instead of watching him just drive, you see him cutting back door, getting layups, getting dunks. They normally get the kick out threes, but he did a terrific job of creating for himself and for his teammates and just being dominant and taking Ayton completely out of the game.
But Jalen, you talk about, you know, him being dominant. Giannis himself has said that he's not the closer. He thinks of Chris Middleton as the closer in his mind. He says, I'm not a Kobe-type guy. He even brought up, I'm not a Bradley Beal-type guy this year. And Chris Middleton obviously has been a focus specifically in this series. He stepped up in the first half, but, you know, he kind of trailed off in the second half. With Giannis playing this way, dominant inside, can you see Chris Middleton being that closer that Giannis has said that he is?
Absolutely, Cassidy, and also Drew Holiday having over 20 points helps as well. But here's the thing, and I got to defend the big guys. As somebody that played multiple positions on every level of basketball, those guys need help from perimeter players in order to get shots from everybody. Look at the history of basketball. If it's 10 seconds to go on the clock and you got somebody between the three-point line and the hash mark with the ball, that ain't gonna be a 7-footer. We're talking about him dominating where? In the paint, the color area of the game. And that's where they can do something that perimeter players can't do. Because this is always gonna be a tall man's game. I really love KD. I really love Steph Curry. They both show up at the park. I'm taking the taller guy because it's just basketball and the hoop is 10 foot tall. That's how this works.
Quickly, Cassidy brought up something earlier I want to get your thought on as well, and that is you're taking Phoenix still to win. But if Milwaukee wins Wednesday, Suddenly the pressure on Chris Paul that shifts to him. Giannis, you're talking about having a lot of other chances. This feels like Chris Paul's opportunity. How about the pressure? Cassidy was the one who brought this thought into my head. The pressure on CP3 if they lose Wednesday.
I think the pressure for CP3 in the NBA Finals got alleviated just him arriving, Greeny. And he did something that neither one of y'all ever see the point guard do. In the closeout game against the Clippers and in game 1 against the Suns, I got a chance to watch CP3 hunt shots, and it was great. I saw it in the Denver series when he was going to the right elbow, navigating through pick and rolls. So now that he's in the finals, they started with a 2-game lead. Give the Bucks credit for taking game 3. Regardless of if this series is 2-2 or not, that's why you're the Phoenix Suns and you have home court advantage. I don't think he panics. I don't think they feel pressure. I think the Suns ultimately get it done in 6.
Jalen, look, you honestly don't think, I don't think he's panicking, okay? This is the point guard, but you don't think he feels pressure? I mean, this is someone who's like, don't even say 3-1 to me in a post-game interview against the Clippers. You don't think he feels pressure?
I'm going to tell you when he felt pressure. Either when he hurt his shoulder or when he was in COVID protocol and they had to play 2 games without him. Imagine if they would have lost both of those games. They won both of those games. And because he was able to return, now it's go time. So I think he's in the driver's seat. I think the Suns are in the driver's seat. And I love the demeanor of their team and of Monty Williams and how he's developing young players. And P.J. Tucker, one of the toughest players in the league, he showed y'all why I didn't play defense and I didn't try to take charges. Because what Cam Johnson did to him, I'd rather not be in that picture. I'd rather just take the ball out
36 years
fast.
old, though. I give it up to P.J.
Get in
Tucker.
transition.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.